In this video, we will be learning how to upload accounts into the system. Prior to watching this video, please make sure you watched step 1, 2, and 3 so you get an understanding of how to interact with the system. On the left-hand side, we're going to click on Import Tool. When we click on the Import Tool, we can see we have 5 separate links: Bulk Import, Import Detail, Manage Mapping, Import Close File, and Import Dial. Import Detail. The Import Detail link shows you all the different current import markups and mappings that you have. You can see who it's created by, the import date, the received date that it was created on, the number of rows in that particular import. You can see which client the import belongs to, the portfolios that have used that particular import. You can see the contingency percent that was assigned, the markdown value, if interest was charged, if it's none, if it's date-wise, or if it's included in the file, what the interest rate is there a header row, and do you need to generate an account number? The next thing we're going to look at is Manage Mapping. When I click on Manage Mapping, I can see that there are 2 import mappings that have been done. Both of them have 20 columns. Both of them have header rows. You can see when it's created by, and you can also see what client. If you like, you can delete this particular mapping if it's incorrect. And if you want to review what the mapping looks like, simply come over to where it says Map Name, click on the name of the mapping. For this purpose, I'm going to click on Admin. When I click on Admin, I can see that this particular account was created on this map date of 9/27. There's 20 columns. It has a header row. We did generate an account number through the system. It belongs to client loan, and it was created by the administrator. We look below and we see 2 columns. One is the map position, and the next is the column that it's mapped to. So in this particular file, you can see there are 1 to 20 positions. Map 1 has the first name, map 2 has the second name, column 3, 4, 5, each have separate identities. And you can see here how they're mapped so you can pair it if there's any issues. The next link we're going to review is Import Close File. So let's click on it. When I click on Import Close File, we see 4 radio boxes. Now these radio boxes include the account number of the system, the account ID 2, 3, and 4. You only need to upload that 1 column. You don't need to upload the entire file. The next link we're going to look at is Import Dial. Let's click on Import Dial. The Import Dial comes with 4 canned import dial features: Global Connect, 5.9, iNexus, and TouchStore. These particular file formats are consistent against most of the dialers that are out there. So when you run a dialer campaign, if you want to bring back what account numbers were called, the phone number, the dial disposition from that particular vendor, you can simply come here, click on Upload File, submit it. The file will get uploaded to the system, and all the dispositions, as well as the time of the call and the date of the call, will be documented in the system. Okay, let's click on Bulk Import. The bulk import is where we're going to spend the majority of this video, and this will show you how to import a file, how to fix a file, and how to assign it to a client and a portfolio. Remember, when you upload a file into the system, you must have a client and an open portfolio or any portfolio available for you to upload those accounts. So I'm going to click on Browse. So I clicked on Browse, and I deliberately picked 20 incorrect accounts. And the reason I did that is I want to show you the intelligence within the system that allows you to check files and make sure that they match and are consistent. Many times when you get files from sellers or you get them from contingency clients, sometimes there's a comma in the wrong place or a decimal or something out of place. So let's click Submit, and let's see if the system catches the 20 incorrect accounts. Hit Submit. And you can see right away, it's saying, listen, there were 21 records. There were 21 columns. The maximum amount of rows was 19. 20 of the rows were consistent. and they're suggesting that there are 2 rows with a problem. So we're going to look at this, and if you can see, it shows you the first name, last name. You can see right here, there's kind of an issue with the first and last name. First name looks good. Last name, this has a middle initial, and this one has a last name. Because of that middle initial, it looks like there may have been an extra comma, and it pushed all of the subsequent columns down a space. But let's go through the rest of it. So we keep going, keep going. If we look at the city, we can see the city is over by 1 as well. So the city on the top one says Suite 2. Below it says Northport. We keep going to the end. Let's see. And we can see right here that in the second row, there's nothing in that column. However, we have a social security number that appears here, and the social security number field is here. So what we want to do right now is we want to make these columns equal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move back to the left, and what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to combine the first name and the last name categories in this particular one to bring Jack plus his middle initial of J into one single line. And let's see what happens. So I hit combine with next cell. Okay, so it's Jack J. Jones, and it's saying, okay, this looks good. Okay, so now it's gone through its first iteration. We cleaned up the first row. Everything in this first row, the fixed row, seems to match. But the system's telling me, hey, listen, we still have an error. You can see it's this purple color. And as we go from left to right, we can see that the city looks good. My state does not look good. Over here I have IA, and over here I clearly have a duplicate for my city. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm simply going to delete this column, and let's see if it fixes it. I click delete. Great. The system said everything matched up. We have 20 columns. Each of those match the specific information, and now we're ready to go to the actual bulk import tool. Okay, so let's import this file. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the system, and I'm going to see the clients that I have. So I have a bunch of different clients here, and I'm going to click on car loan for the sake of this demo. I click on car loan, and it will show me all of the portfolios that I have available in the system. If I wanted to add files to one of the other portfolios, I can do that, but I actually created a brand new portfolio called Regional Port. I'm going to click on that. I can change my receive date. I can assign a contingency. So let's just say that this is a 70% contingency client. I have a markdown capability of 60%, or yes, 60%, meaning that the client has given me the ability to mark it down to 60%. So if it's a $100 placement, I can make collections on this anywhere between $60 and $100 and be in compliance in what my agreement is with that client. The next thing I have is the interest rate. You can see that there are 3 types of interest rate. There is 0 interest rate. You can click state-wise. If you do that, this actually references the state-wise table, which is in the management link of this system. We will cover that later, but it will take the state-wise interest rates that are usury, and you can set those up yourself. Or you can set a user-defined interest rate. So the purpose of this, I'm just going to take no interest rate. Now, one of the things that we've added, which is kind of interesting, you can assign what we call a global fee. And you can either do it by a percentage amount or a dollar amount. And what this means is I'm going to click right here, add amount, and this is to add a dollar amount. I can, when the file is inloaded into the system, I can actually automatically add an additional $10 extra to the interest balance, $30 to the fee, $5 or whatever. But this allows you to add a dollar amount to every single account that's coming into the system. Okay, I can also go from a dollar amount addition into add percentage. And if I add percentage, I can actually add percentage to the account as it's coming in. So if I have $100 interest balance and I have a 10 here for 10%, when that file gets loaded, it'll come in with 110% on it. This particular feature was designed for health club and healthcare membership types of accounts. Those accounts have very sophisticated type of membership agreements, and this allows you to automatically add those features. Next, we're going to look at run interest from. And what we mean by that is the system allows you to choose when you want to run interest from. You can run it from the last pay date, you can run it from the placement date, which would be today, you can run it from the charge-off date, or you can run it from a user-defined date. So for the purposes of this, I'm going to choose the last pay date, but if I had a user defined, I would set it right here. I have my country, which is set up for USA. Now I have some radio buttons. So I click generate interest, yes or no, calculate future daily interest. What this allows you to do is continue to charge interest based on the date that you chose from up here, the run interest rate. I can decide to generate an account number. This particular file has a header row, so I'm going to click yes. And the header row simply means, does it say first name, last name, city, state, zip? What you want to make sure that you do is that if you have a header row in the file, that you identify it. The system will more than likely catch it, but you want to make sure that you identify it so that it doesn't get pulled in the system. We also have the ability to auto-generate initial demand letter. This is a great feature. This is so that you never forget when you load a file to generate the initial demand letter. When you come here, if you click yes, when this file is loaded, an initial demand letter will automatically be set up and it'll be in your letter queue set for export. As we scroll down a little bit further, we can see a classification here. The classification is required and you must choose one of these 15 types of classifications. The reason the classification is here is if you're going to report on credit, the Metro 2 format requires that if you're going to send a file to Equifax, Experian, or TransUnion, or Innovis, that you have a classification ID. That ID must be present in the export file and any subsequent files that you send to the credit reporting agency. Below that, we have a date format, and this allows you to set the date format in any number of different ways. One of the key things to know is that when you upload a file, the file must have the same date format for every single date. You cannot have part of the system in a MMDDYYYY format and some other components in that file DDMMYYYY. It does not allow that. So you look right here, next is select mapping. We look at select mapping, and the mapping feature shows you any mappings that are available for this particular type of account. If we recall, when we started, we looked at the import detail and the manage mapping. These both showed us what is in the system, what has been mapped, what client it has been mapped to, how many columns are in those mappings, and then who actually created those mappings. Since a mapping has been created for this, I'm actually going to click on that particular mapping. You can see it was created by the admin. It's our 20 columns. It has a header row, and it generates the account number. Now that everything is set, I'm going to click Submit. When I click Submit, it gives me a quick snapshot saying, hey, listen, just double check, give it your eyes, make sure that everything is good, and make sure that everything matches up. If you notice right here, the first column says column name, and it's in blue. This is telling you that these are going to be identified as a header row, and they're not going to be pulled into your system. This is a good fail-safe in case you didn't realize that you had a header file or didn't have a header file. If we didn't have a header file, this would say record 1, and it would say F name, L name, and we would know right away, hey, listen, something's wrong, I need to fix this. So you know that this file has a header file. If you look to the left, it shows you what it's been mapped to. So first name is equal to F name, last name is L name. And if we made any mistakes, we could actually go through all of these different types of identifiers or column names within the system. And you can see we have dozens. We have aliases, AKA, we have alternate contacts, we have attorneys, we have authorized rep, co-borrowers, if you have employment information, if there's other additional information you want to add to the file, if there's power of attorney, any references, all of this information is right here. So there is no file that you will get that you won't be able to find a mapping to. As well as we have a notes field. So if you get a file that has a bunch of notes in it, those notes can be grabbed as well and uploaded to the system. So I'm just going to go to the right, I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to click Confirm Mapping. I click confirm mapping, and it's saying, okay, this is what we're going with, and this is what is going to be our assignment. Now, if you see right here, it says save mapping. In the case that we hadn't saved this mapping, or it was a brand new mapping and we know that we want to use it, that identifier can be used as our mapping. I'm just going to click confirm to import. I click that. It says, okay, data has been successfully loaded and there are now 20 records in your system. In this video, we learned how to import a dial file. We learned how to close files of different types. We also learned how to view import detail for particular mappings, and we learned how to use the bulk import tool. With the bulk import tool, we learned how to clean files and make sure all the rows map up. We learned how to check a file once that file has been created. We also learned how to create a new mapping and give it a name, and we ultimately learned how to upload accounts into the system and get things working. Thank you for watching this video. Each video is designed to give you an in-depth overview of every single component of the system. My goal is to make you a blue water CRM expert. Thank you for watching.